So, welcome to SPICE. SPICE stands for South Asian and Global Perspectives in Cinema and Entertainment. I'm Shirley Desai, the host, and I'm here today and pleased to welcome producer Asit Vyas and director Mahesh Pyler to talk about the film Paper Flowers. This film is inspired by the true story of Shalin Shah, a young man whose experience with cancer became not only a story about illness, but a story about love, gratitude, family, purpose, and how we choose to live the life we are given. What drew me to Paper Flowers is that it seems to approach a difficult subject with tenderness and hope. It asks us to reflect on mortality, on beauty, on the people we love, the moments we notice, and the sunsets we sometimes take for granted. Asit and Mahesh, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you. And thanks for the beautiful introduction of our film.
Well, it's a wonderful film. My husband and I just watched it and we really enjoyed it. And so I'm really excited to talk to you more about the film and uncover some of the secrets and the basics behind what came to reality. So, Mahesh, for the people who are just discovering Paper Flowers, can you talk a little bit about the heart of the story, what the story is about?
Yeah. Well, at its heart, I mean, this is a story essentially about not taking anything for granted. It's a story about a young man who's diagnosed with the terminal diagnosis of cancer at a very young age. And it's about him, what he chooses to do with the remaining months of his life. And in real life, that was an inspiring story that he left behind. And then we tried to take that forward into this movie and to continue his message and to tell a story about hope and resilience. So as much as this is a story that does have tragedy in it, it is a story about gratitude, love, and as I said, not taking anything for granted. And I hope that's what people take away from it.
Yeah, I think that was one big takeaway for me is, do we enjoy every moment fully? Are we fully present? And I think that film actually brings that heart into the, conversation and the consciousness of people.
Yeah.
Asit, filmmakers are often moved by stories they encounter in unexpected ways. Paper Flowers was inspired by Shalin Shah's story and his HuffPost essay, Thank You, Cancer. Can you take us back to the moment you first encountered that story and knew it would become a film?
Well, I actually did not discover Shalin's story after it happened. I had the privilege of witnessing it as it unfolded because I'm part of his extended family.
Oh, I see.
Now, over those months, Shirley, I watched his character reveal itself little by little through the way he lived, loved, and inspired the people around him. But the defining moment came at the first celebration of his life. As I sat there, I listened to people of all ages share how Shalin had profoundly touched and changed their lives. Then Frances spoke. In the movie, her name is Fiona, and her real name is Frances. She spoke beautifully about their journey together. And finally, Shalin's father, Sanjeev, he stood up and shared that one of Shalin's wishes was for his story to reach as many people as possible. On the drive home that very evening, with my wife and our two children in the car, I turned to them and said, I'm going to make a film about Shalin. I truly believed there was no more powerful medium than cinema to carry his message of love, gratitude, and purpose to people around the world. And that was that moment, Shirley. Paper Flower began.
Wow, that's quite incredible. I had no idea that this was actually so close to home. Do you feel like you captured the essence of the experience in the film?
Asit he's the one that's carried this movie and again, it's inspired by Shalin's words, and then Asit carried it forward, and it was his dream to make this movie. And we're now coming up on almost 9 years since it happened, right? Asit?
Yeah.
It's like, so,
right. Yeah, 10 years.
It's a long journey, but it's so rewarding to finally get us here. And I can't speak to that, like how accurate it is always, because I wasn't there. I came in later, but I think Asit is very proud of it. I know the family is very proud of the film, so I think we feel good.
Correct.
Yeah, I think the characters were depicted really well, so it was a joy to watch. In my experience, stories based on real lives often carry a raw emotional truth that is hard to invent. Did you feel that while making Paper Flowers? Did the true story aspect change the way you directed or produced the film? Obviously, it did, because it was actually based on a true experience.
As a director, I think of true stories in one way, because on one hand, we have to honor that, right? It is a true story. There are real people involved. and it's an important story for them. And Asit and the original writer Mary together, they really did a lot of the research to really craft this and to really work with the family to kind of really tell their true story. But once I came involved, I also felt my sort of responsibility was really to the story. And sometimes that meant deviating a little bit from true life, but in a way that I think it still honors the truth. I think about movies and I think about like the collaborative nature of making movies is that we're all bringing something to it. So even though this is a true story that happened to a person and to a family, all of our life experience, mine, the people, the actors, they all are bringing something to it too. But hopefully in the end, it comes back because what we're trying to do is tell something that is honoring their true story, but also trying to like expand it in some ways. And so that's, I think, what we did. And I always tell this story, but the one thing I loved is at the very end, we have like this beautiful epilogue with the real footage of Shalin and Francis. And what was so lovely is that as we were making the movie, we didn't try to mimic or imitate necessarily the real moments or even mannerisms. But then when at the end of the film, when we were editing this last sequence together, we saw so much of the movie in it, meaning that we had, I think, found the truth in the movie and in their lives in the making of the movie.
Yeah, I think you put your consciousness into it and it just actually worked out. I think there is a challenge as a director to tell a story and to make it flow together in such a way. So it's really great how everything came together kind of in a circular manner.
Yeah.
Now, death and mortality are difficult subjects to bring into a film, especially if you want the audience to feel uplifted. How did you approach the balance?
Yeah.
For both of you, actually.
Yeah. So I'll take that first. You're right. Death and mortality are a very difficult subject to bring into a film. At first, I also thought the same thing. But everything changed after I attended the first celebration of his life, as I mentioned previously. When I left that gathering, I was not sad, I was rather inspired. What I realized was that when we truly understand our time in this beautiful world is limited, we begin to focus less on the quantity of life and more on the quality of the life. Like most young people, Shalin thought he had all the time in the world.
Right.
But after his diagnosis, he discovered himself that something even more powerful. He could not control how long he would live, but he could choose how he lived. So that was an amazing thing about this story. That became our guiding principle for Paper Flowers. We didn't want audience to live thinking about death. We wanted them to live appreciating the extraordinary gift of life and asking themselves how they want to spend the time they have been given. That became our guiding principle for Paper Flowers. We didn't want audience to live thinking about death.
Asit said, I think when Asit first approached me, that was my first hesitation with even thinking about being able to direct the movie because it is a challenging topic to work around. I think the real thing was about trying to capture in some ways, the essence of the joy that he had. And so on a craft level, some of the things that we did too is just trying to bring in even humor, which is like something that's really, you see it in life all the time. In some of the darkest places, there's something that someone laughs and that just changes everything. And so that was part of the way we kind of dealt with it or tried to think about it. But as Asit said, that was sort of our guiding principle, that we didn't want to make a movie that was necessarily sad. It was a movie that in some ways gives you hopefully a guiding principle and some version of hope, even in the face of death.
Yeah, I think you achieve that also with the film because
That's great.
Thank you.
The whole essence is learning to enjoy every sunset.
Yeah.
Curious, how many sunsets have you both watched?
That's a great question. I should do the math. See, I don't know if you've done the math on yours. I don't know.
What are you talking about ourselves?
Yeah. How many sunsets have you seen? Oh boy.
Okay, I can, not in the days, I can tell you in the years how many sunsets I saw every day, which is 67 years now in this July. This number of sunset, which we are talking about, those are the total number of days he lived in.
I see.
Those are not the sunset actually he looked at, but those are the number of days. So since he was very close to nature, this particular line reflects his personality. So instead of saying this many days he lived in the beginning, he's saying this many sunsets I saw.
Yeah.
So I saw sunsets, 67 years multiplied by 365.
Yeah, my problem is I don't observe sunsets. the sun will set, I'll be like, oh, that's okay. But then I have to really look and say, oh, it's so beautiful. Look at the sky, look at everything. So it's really taking time out from our busy lives and what we're doing to actually observe something beautiful in nature.
Can I ask, has that changed at all after watching the movie? Do you think of sunsets any differently?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay,
So
that's great.
I think it's made me more conscious of the fact that I don't observe sunsets, and so
Yeah.
now it's more important to me. So yeah, definitely.
I think that's partly what we're hoping for, is that because we take everything for granted. Every moment, every day, our days are so fast, but this idea to just appreciate that and realize that that's the real gift that we get every moment. So
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about casting. I thought that you selected perfect people to play the roles. What was the process that you followed to get these actors? And in particular, was Shalin, were you looking for a specific type of person to fit that role?
Well, I agree. We were incredibly fortunate, Shirley, to assemble such a talented cast. In many ways, the casting process began years before we started filming. As Mary Crail Oishi, our writer who started writing the script, and I were developing the screenplay initially, I was already imagining different actors for each role. But once we brought our casting director, Emily Schweber, the process reached a whole new level. Right, Mahesh? Emily did an outstanding job identifying remarkable talent, and she deserved tremendous credit for the cast we ultimately assembled. And particularly for Shalin's character, when I was in the initial stage, I was looking for much more than good actor initially until Mahesh came in. And I wanted someone who is handsome, because Shalin was handsome, and genuinely reflected Shalin's spirit, his warmth, humility, kindness, and his optimism. And, we considered several talented actors like before Kapil. But Kapil Talwarkar consistently stood out for us. He not only shared a similar cultural background as a Indian American young boy, but he also presented the authenticity and emotional depth that made us believe he could truly become Shalin.
That's great.
Yeah.
When I looked at the actual footage versus the footage, they look similar. They were different, but they looked similar, and they had some resemblance to each other. So
and actually, the one compliment of that, his casting came just day before yesterday, Monday, when we all got together. Monday was our big day, because Monday was 34th birthday of Shalin.
Okay.
And Monday was the day when we launched our campaign for the release. So we had invited actors. We had invited even Shalin's parents. We wanted to let them know also what is happening. And they participated in that kickoff meeting we had. And towards the end, Mr. Shah, Shalin's father, he said, "Can I say something?" And we said, "Of course." And he said, "I want to address something to Shalin. Each time, Shalin, I look at you, you remind me of my son."
And Kapil, he was saying that to Kapil.
To Kapil, yeah. You were there, Mahesh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even his own father, at this point also, he thinks that there is a Shalin in Kapil. So that's a huge compliment, I think.
Yeah, very much. For all of you as well as for Kapil. This was a 9 to 10 year journey to create this film. What kind of obstacles did you face in making this film a reality?
It was really a 10 years long journey, and every phase brought a different challenge. The first obstacle was, adapting a true story for the screen. We were portraying a real people, people I knew personally as part of my extended family. And naturally, there were many conversations about why certain events or characters needed to be portrayed the way we portrayed in the film. But we had built a shared understanding that screenplay is not a documentary. It's about capturing the emotional truth of story while making it work cinematically, right? So we had to work on that. We had to really work between the real character and us to convince them that, this is not a documentary. We are making a film. And on the screenplay, we have to use all the cinematic liberties. And, finally they understood. And we had promised them that we will make it as authentic as possible. But we need to remember that we are making a film. And the second challenge was finding someone to finance, actually, and maybe hopefully Banner to produce the film. And I spent years pitching the project. I went to AFM and I made so many contacts. I reached out to them. But despite the screenplay and inspiring story, we could not find anyone willing to take the risk. And I kept hearing variation of two common beliefs in the industry. First, that only genre of film are commercially viable. And the second was that a film need at least one white lead out of two to get the distribution. And then COVID hit, and making it even more difficult to finance an independent film because all the uncertainty the COVID brought in the industry. But finally, I realized that if I truly believed in this story, I could not keep waiting for someone else to say yes. I had to say yes myself. And I made the decision to work with a private investor and personally finance and produce the film. And looking back, I think that was the turning point. And the biggest lesson, Shirley, I learned is that sometimes you have to become the person you have been waiting for.
Yeah. Mahesh, similarly, what were some of the biggest challenges on set, either emotionally, creatively, or practically?
Well, it's interesting. This is a low budget movie, and as Asit said, it was him being the person to make this happen is true, and it was very much a friends and family affair in so many ways. I said this before we got on this call, but behind Asit and his background over there, that's one of the locations in the movie. That's how we made this film happen.
Yeah,
it's interesting, even on this low budget movie, and I've worked on bigger projects. I've directed bigger like TV shows where you have a budget that you're not really worried about. And on this one, even though we had a limited budget, there weren't really a lot of problems on set. Like we weren't. I never felt like we were wishing that we had necessarily more, which was very interesting. And I think that just came down to it was such a warm and rewarding environment to make this movie. Everyone was there because they were passionate about the story and wanting to contribute. So really what the challenges were, how could we give the film the sort of scope that I think it deserved? And that was just things based on our experience and how do we stretch things with locations and things like that. But truth be told, like it didn't have the challenges you would expect on a low budget movie, even though we didn't have as much time and we didn't have the money that we might have wished we had. I think the heart and this essence of the story we were able to capture through the actors. So yeah.
Well, it didn't look like a low budget film.
That's great. Yeah.
So I thought the production value was pretty good.
Yeah, great. That's what we were hoping for.
So for other producers or investors listening, what steps did you take to reduce risk and make the project more viable, creatively or financially? And I know you have one investor that you work with.
I think we really do want to make this movie accessible, and I think this speaks to, sometimes you hear that thing from distributors, well, this is a cast with brown actors in it. How will this speak to a wider audience, that's whether a wider American audience, essentially. And I think what we try to do, the more specific we get, the more universal the story is. And I don't think we let that be a limitation. And in some ways, that's a strength. And I hope it proves itself. But when you watch the movie, and we've seen it when we played at a lot of film festivals, and there are audiences that are not South Asian that come out to watch the movie, and they are so moved by it. I think in terms of the craft, how we made the movie, how we told the movie, it's a very accessible movie. And so I think that's how when we think about averting risk, just try to make a movie that can speak to a wide audience, and I think it does.
Yeah. One of the things, Shirley, one of the biggest lesson I learned is that you reduce risk by taking it one step at a time. It took me 10 years, We didn't try to do everything at once. We first developed the screenplay, then attached the right director and cast, then produced the film, then validated it through successful film festival run. And only after that did we move forward as a national-wide theatrical release. Each milestone reduced the risk for the next one. And finally, I would encourage producers not to wait for everything to be perfect. Do your homework, reduce the risk you can control, and then have the courage to just take a leap. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes you have to become the person you have been waiting for. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. So how has the journey been working with partners such as festivals, community screenings, Angel Studios, PBS, or other distribution partners?
Well, it has been one of the most rewarding part of this journey. What I have learned is that every partner brings something unique to the table. Film festival helped validate the film creatively and introduce to audience. Now, community screening showed us that the conversation after the film are often just as meaningful as the film itself. Distribution partner help us reach wider audience, while organizations like PBS and Angel Studios, which we are partnering with allow the film to continue finding the new life beyond the theaters. The goal has never been simply to release the movie. It is to build the moment rather, around Shalin's message of gratitude, purpose, and love. Every partner who shared that vision helps us take another step towards the right goal.
Yeah, definitely. So looking back, what is one lesson from making Paper Flowers that would carry you to your next film, Asit and Mahesh, both of you?
The lesson that I took from Shalin and from this movie, to be present, and that's the message that I think he was leaving behind, but I think it was also part of the process in making the movie. There were times even on this movie where you do confront something where something as simple as something, the schedule changes or something doesn't work out and you have to adjust. Or even as you're watching the scene and it doesn't necessarily work out as planned, or you think it might be planned. And then you just have to be as present as possible and react to what's happening and make adjustments. And that could be shooting the scene in a completely different way. And I think on this film, what was so liberating was that freedom to do that. And credit to Asit too, to let me do that, but to really just allow myself to sort of be the first audience, be present and react to what was happening in front of the camera, in front with the actors, and then adjust and be able to change things on the fly, which I think was really great for the film. And for me, it's a lesson that I definitely take to everything that I do from now on, which is movie is it's its own thing once you start making it, and you really have to respond to it and try to make the best thing you can in the moment, which is great.
Yeah, well, I learned a lot, and I will use all that knowledge which I have gained. I learned almost how to write script, and then I worked with the script writing team. So throughout this whole process, I'm learning and doing things. So, next time, I think if I get an opportunity, I will use all this knowledge and experience I have gained into the next film. Everything I learned in this film is so useful. And if I don't make film for whatever reason, I would love to share that, and I would love to help people, volunteer because I am in that age group now where, I want to give back to the community, to the society. And that is one of the lesson again I learned from Shalin. At the age of just 21, he has this mindset which I am kind of thinking about now, of giving back to the community, giving back to the society. At 21, this Shalin, his story impressed me so much because at 21, he already thought of it. He said, well, since last 21 years, and I have heard him saying that last 21 years, I'm just getting things from the world, from the people. Now I'm 21, I'm adult. I want to go back and I want to help people. And that's why he took a stand against even Fiona in the film. And he decided to go by himself to the US Peace Corps. Initially, Francis was not happy about that decision. Who would be? Right, if you're 21-year-old, and your boyfriend says that I'm going to go 2 years away from, somewhere in jungle. It's kind of difficult, situation for any girlfriend or even boyfriend, But Shalin took a position and he said, this is what I want to do. Even though he loved Fiona so much, he said, no, I think this is my purpose. I need to do that. And that's why he joined the US Peace Corps. So, yeah, I know it's a different answer to your question, but those are the things I basically learned and take it in my next project.
What message do you want people to leave the film thinking or feeling, for both of you?
My hope is that Paper Flowers encourages all of us to live each day with a little more purpose, gratitude, and love. And now since, I also want to take this opportunity to tell something, I learned a big value of having gratitude. And I sincerely, from bottom of my heart, I want to, thank our director, Mahesh Pailur. This film would not be what it is without his craft, dedication, and partnership. I want to say that. And the second thing I want to say to you, Shirley, that thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity, you are giving us to share Shalin's story with your audience.
Definitely.
Asit, thank you. Yes, this is very much about gratitude. One of the things that I always think about is like, because I have young kids and I take everything for granted now. And I think one of the things I hope with this movie is that it does leave audiences with that feeling of realizing and appreciating that, every moment is a gift to us. And I think we even say that in the movie. It's like, if you're watching this movie, you're one of the lucky ones. And I feel very lucky, and I feel very lucky to have been able to be part of telling Shalin's story and a message through the movie. And again, thank you, Asit, for letting me and bringing me on that journey. Yeah.
It's a win-win situation, Mahesh.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, it's been a pleasure having you both on. To everyone watching, thank you for joining us on Spice. Please look out for Paper Flowers, support independent cinema, and continue following Spice for more conversations about film, storytelling, and the people behind the work. Paper Flowers opens in theaters nationwide on Friday, August 21st. So put that in your notebook or your calendar. For the latest information on participating theaters, showtimes, and ticket links, please follow Paper Flowers on social media. And that's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's at Paper Flowers Movie. Very simple.
You got it. You got it.
If you're part of a nonprofit, community organization, hospital, university, or faith-based group, we'd also love to partner with you. Paper Flowers is available for community and impact screenings, which can be paired with panel discussions, educational programs, fundraising, and awareness campaigns. To learn more and inquire about hosting a screening, please visit paperflowersmovie.com.
Paperflowersmovie.com, guys.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, with that, I wish you the best of luck with the film and the launch, and hopefully Spice can continue to support you as you progress with the movie. So good luck.
Thank you very much.
For now. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.